Hey guys, and welcome to my second part of the Q&A about India. Today I wanted to be stylish, so I was wearing this outfit like this, with this shoulder free and this shoulder not. And now look at me. This is so fucking sunburned, and this is normal. Sunburn, normal. Whatever, I'm just gonna wear it like this and pretend nothing happened at all. So today I'm gonna answer all the Twitter questions, the YouTube questions, and the Discord questions, so that we have everything covered, and after that I can maybe finally publish my vlog and some other videos just talking about it. And what I could also do is ask some other interns that were doing the internship there with me about their experience, what they think of India. So you could just put one topic that you're very interested in the comments, so that I could just ask everybody like, hey, can you make a short video for me about this? This would be so fucking cool. So let's start. How was your poop experience? For the people who might not know it, in India you don't have our Western toilets that are just normal, like you sit on them like this and then you just pee and you take the toilet paper and you wash everything off and you just flush and then it's finished. No, it's not like that in India. I mean, sometimes it is, but like the biggest thing that's a giant difference there is that they normally don't use toilet paper. So in most cases toilet paper is not even existent. I mean, in some places it is, like when you're at the airport, in some museums and maybe some fancy hotels or restaurants, they do have toilet paper, but most of the time they don't have it. And what is even worse in India is that they have these Indian toilets and it's literally a hole in the ground. It's just a hole and you have to go there very small just to sit there like this and then you have to poop, or of course to pee, and pooping is even worse, so I would never go on this toilet to poop. For me it was also so fucking hard to clean myself only with water, and I could not do this. That's why I was always having my own toilet paper or tissues or anything with me, just to save myself from doing it the Indian way, because I just could not. I was trying it, but it was a mess every time. The worst experience was when I had to pee so badly and I had no other choice, so I was going to that petrol station. It was the only toilet anywhere nearby, and it was this Indian toilet, and it was just so dirty and it was stinking and it was not nice. And of course, most of the time the floor is also totally wet because everybody's using the water there. So I had my backpack, I had my clothing, because I cannot pee on these toilets with all my undergarment. So I have to put everything off, like my pants, my underpants, and everything away just to go on that toilet. And it's horrific. The worst experience I had was during a bus trip when I was going from Jodhpur to Mumbai for 19 fucking hours, and you never really know when the bus stops entirely or when they just pick up people from other stations, and sometimes they just stop in nowhere. There's only one restaurant and nothing beside this, like 20 kilometers around it, there's nothing. And my biggest fear was always to go out to pee and then they just leave me there and they pass by me and I'm just standing there like, oh shit, no phone connection, no nothing. This was always my biggest fear. And there was this one situation when I thought like, okay, now is the perfect timing to go out to pee, because I had to pee very urgently, like in many cases. So I was going out there and the bus driver was not there anymore, so I couldn't just tell him, hey, please wait for me, I have to go to pee, because they were putting stuff in the bus. So I thought like, okay, they still need some time, it's no problem, I can just pee super quickly and then come back. So I was going to that toilet, it was an Indian toilet, whatever, so I was putting off my pants and everything. I just peed and then the bus started to blow the horn, just like boom, boom, boom. And I just finished and I didn't have any clothes on and I was like, oh my god, my worst fear, please, 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 please wait for me. And I was super in a hurry, so I was putting on my underpants, just like, oh my gosh. And then the bus was blowing the horn again. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, ah, shit, oh my god. So I was just thinking like, with the pants still in my hands, should I just run out there like this? But there were other people, of course, beside me. So I didn't want to do this because it's India. And sometimes these people are not so open-minded like people in Europe. So I thought, okay, no, you cannot do this in India. So I was just putting on these pants too and just running out like that. And I was really the last one they were waiting for. So everybody was just like looking at me like that. But when I was going in, I felt like, okay, I'm the only white person, so of course they remember that I'm missing, but still, it was the worst feeling when they were blowing the horn 10 times and I was like, shit, 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 please don't go without me. So the toilets experience, all in all, was not always that nice. What was the most shocking to you? So, as I said in my last video, oh, by the way, the last video is also linked here, so you can take a look at that, because there I answered so many questions, it's just like a Q&A XXL. But, okay, concerning the culture shock. So, I was not having a culture shock, like I said before, but what was shocking me from the beginning were the buildings. Like I told you, everything was looking like a ruin to me. But the thing that actually shocked me the most was this general attitude. I wouldn't say like everybody had this, but it was a white majority having this attitude. So all these people were just thinking like white people are better than them. So for me it was some reversed kind of racism, because they were seeing us as kind of gods. They were always approaching us like, where do you come from? What's your name? Always interested and curious. I can understand that one. But it was not just that, because they were always thinking of us better. Like they didn't even know us, and still they thought like, oh, they are smart, they are clever, they are beautiful, because this was also the beauty standard, that they just like fair people with a fair skin and stuff like that. So this was a thing I was really shocked about, because it was just generalized like this. Like everybody, every white person is so nice, every white person is so pretty, every white person is this and that and that. And I just hate this. Like when I was talking to some people, they just said, oh, you're German, you're this and that, because they just have their stereotypes in their head. And in India it's worse than everywhere else, I had the feeling, because Indians are not really going out of the country most of the time, because they don't really get visa for other countries. And of course, poor people, they cannot afford to go anywhere, because also the currency is not that strong. So this really is a problem there, and this is definitely the thing that was shocking me the most. What did you do in your free time? Most of the time I was traveling. Like on weekends, actually I was always busy traveling, which I loved a lot, because we were doing everything spontaneously. So sometimes we didn't book a hotel, hostel, couch surfing, whatever, we just did that on the same day. We booked our buses on the same day. The only thing we knew was like the main activity we wanted to do on that day. So we said we want to go to Jaipur, we gotta go to Agra, we want to go there, we want to go to Jaisalmer, but we were not planning anything, and I loved this so much. But other things I did in my leisure time was partying. Like I was working in the evenings for that teaching project I was doing there, because I was doing an internship in India. So at night or in the evenings we were often meeting friends. Sometimes we were going out for a club, if you can call it like that. In Jodhpur there are no real clubs, so everything closes down at 12 or something. It's so sad there, really. Like the dance floor, it's just so tiny, it's as big as my bathroom, you could say, but whatever. So sometimes there are still quite nice places that you can just sit in to have food or to just enjoy the evening. And sometimes we were also going to other places of the interns, where we're inviting people to our rooftop, and I was also staying there with so many roommates. So some nights we were just sitting there and talking, enjoying a night like this. It was just like hanging out with friends a lot. Sometimes having house parties, because we were going to that farmhouse quite a lot of times, and then we were dancing and drinking and eating and everything, like the general thing you do at a house party. But house parties are so much better in India, because everybody's dancing. In Germany it's so hard to convince a person to start dancing at a house party. When you go to a club, everybody will dance, this is normal, but when you go to a house party, oh my gosh, it's so hard to convince a person to finally fucking dance. Even if I start like, woo, yeah, they will still be like, why is she dancing though? I don't get it. In the daytime I was mostly bored, because after a week you've seen everything in Jodhpur, and then you just sit there like, what to do now? So sometimes I was just searching for persons. that can show me around a little or just hang out, but everybody was busy in the daytimes because most people were working, of course. So often I was just sitting around doing nothing, so that was quite lame. But in the evenings it was mostly very nice, and it was too hot anyway to do anything in the daytime, so I guess it's fine. What was the thing that influenced you the most or changed you the most when going to India? So, I would really say, when thinking it entirely through, that I realized that you always get a reason to be grateful and to be happy about your life, because you always have to see that some people just have not as good as a life as you have, and you should just be so grateful for what you have, especially when you compare yourself to people from other countries, from other social structures that don't have such a good life, or maybe that they don't get the same opportunities that you do, and still you're sitting around and you complain about everything. So I really learned there that you should always see everything from a positive point of view. I always used to be a very positive and hopeful person, but this changed me even to a better more, that I still see a positive thing in everything. Like, a shitty thing happens and I'm still like, okay, this is so nice about it. So I think it's always about the point of view, and if you see things from a positive point of view, then you'll be so much happier with your life. So this is really the way to go, because when I was coming back, I had some situations when I still felt sad, or I was in general not feeling good or anything, but I remember back then it lasted for a longer time than only for 1 day or 2 days and then it was over. But when I really had a situation after coming back, when I felt so sad, really, I had some days where I was feeling so down, but it took me like 2 days and then I was over it. I was like, okay, no reason to be sad, let's just go on with my life, find a better opportunity, find a solution to that problem, and then just go on. And I would also say that India got me to be a little more adventurous, because I was so often there when I caught myself, oh my god, I would never do such a thing in Germany. So I was getting more courageous, doing more things that I normally don't do, taking risks, taking adventures, and just enjoying my life. So there was a lot of times where I just felt like YOLO! So I really like this, because I used to be a person that was always sticking to my ideals, which was kind of too extreme sometimes. So I said like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, then I'm really gonna do that. So concerning some cases, it's very good if you are like this, but it also lets you be kind of perfectionist sometimes, and it's not good to be always that perfectionist, because you cannot be 100% perfect. And if I feel like I'm incomplete or not doing something 100% right, then I was feeling bad, and I hated this feeling, because I had so many things on my to-do list, like do that, do this, do that, and I was always so stressed about everything, and it was so unnecessary. So it's way better to not stress things out and just be happy with what you give. So let's just say you give 100%, and that's perfect. Maybe the result is not perfect, but you did your best. So this is what you can do, and there is also something you cannot do. You can always try to improve yourself, which is perfect, but you shouldn't always aim for the biggest and the best and the highest, and I don't know, because I always had so many things on my mind and I wanted to achieve so many things just on one day, and sometimes it's just not possible. And if you just plan ahead so much stuff and you just write it down like, I have to do this and that and that and that, then you just get disappointed, because it's not possible to do this in one day. So why stress about it so much? Just say, okay, I will do this. If you just have a realistic view for that, what you want to do, then you do it. This is the best thing you could do. And don't exaggerate and try to do more and more and more and more, because it will just totally destroy you and drag you down. And this is not what life should be about. It's not about stressing out everything just to be the best you. It's more about enjoying it, being happy with your life, and just giving what you can give. This is the perfect thing you should do. So I definitely learned not to strain myself and to see everything from a positive and hopeful point of view. Sometimes you can also just try things out and just go with the flow, and then you'll be so much happier than planning everything out and just stressing yourself overly. Did you make any friends that you are still in contact with? So, like in the latest Q&A, I actually said that I met my boyfriend in Malaysia, so of course I'm still in contact with him. And also my Romanian friend, I'm still in contact with her. We get along very well, and there's also one Egyptian girl that I liked very much during my internship, and we still write often on WhatsApp and stuff like that. Sometimes I also text some Indian guys that I met there from Mumbai, or just some people I met in Jodhpur, and I'm just writing with some of them. And also the guy from Senegal, he is a very nice person, so I'm also texting him. There are a lot of people I'm still texting just in between. We're not texting continuously or just all the time, consistently, but still we just text in between, and you always have these contacts also on Instagram, on WhatsApp, and it's still nice if there's something you just want to talk about. Yeah, it's a quite cool thing to have friends all over the world. You don't have to be in contact with them all the time, but it still gives you some quite nice opportunities. And what I believe is that you always meet people for a second time, and maybe I will visit some of my friends in their home countries. This would be so cool. And of course I would also love to host you guys if you want to come to my place in Germany. I really hope that you showed the people in India how you twerk. Actually, I don't think so that I twerked a lot in India. Maybe at some parties, but I cannot remember this exact scene. Sometimes I was dancing a lot because I love dancing at these house parties because everybody else was dancing. It was so much fun, and I still miss this. When I'm going to a German house party, I'm just like, I miss India so much because there were so great dancers and I love dancing with them, but I cannot remember twerking because most of the time we were also listening to Indian music. It's more like EDM music, and then twerking was not always super fitting, but it was a hell lot of fun. Would you recommend an internship abroad? And if yes, why? So I have to say that I was not completely happy with my project because it was not as I expected it. But it's a perfect opportunity to go abroad and to get a connection from a starting point, because I think if you're not that independent when going there, then it's a good thing to have a network from the beginning. Because if you go through an organization to do the internship, then you always have responsibles that you can talk to, or you have other interns that you can talk to. So if you have any struggles or problems, there is always a person who you kind of know or who you will get to know that is there for you. So if you just travel to a country directly, completely alone for the first time, it could be a little bit too much for you, but I would say if you do it with an internship, you have all the structures around you that protect you somehow. So this is the safest option, I would say. But also internships abroad can be quite expensive. It depends on what you do it with, because there are also some internships you can do for free, like there are organizations that you can write to if you just want to do volunteer work for 1 year or something. Then you can also do it for free sometimes, like with the Rote Kreuz, or there are also some governmental organizations that you can do it with, but there's a lot, so just look it up on the internet. There's so much you can do, and I would definitely say it's the best opportunity I had in my life so far, because I got the possibility to meet so many people, to experience a whole new culture, and just to get more and more independent, although I was already quite independent before, but it gave me more confidence and a better overview about life, just to see in general how life works and how other people see life, and it totally changed my perception about life in general, let's say that. I think you don't have to do it as an internship. For me it was quite nice to do it as an internship because I also needed it for my studies. So now I finished one of my 3 internships that I have to do for my studies, so I could connected somehow in my semester vacation, which was very nice. But I would just general recommend traveling because it will help you a lot in many different fields if you do it the right way. I wouldn't say like that there is a wrong way, because of course there are people just going on relaxation vacation or something like that, and of course it's up to you. If you want to do that, that's completely fine, but then you won't have the same experience as I had, this life-changing experience, I would say, because for me a hotel vacation is not that interesting. If I just want to have a relaxation vacation with massages and a pool and stuff like that, then I wouldn't go abroad, because you can get all of that in your home country if you just want to spend a shit ton of money for all that unnecessary stuff. For me it's unnecessary because I love exploring new cultures near to the locals. Then I would say an abroad internship is a really good way to do that, but there are also a hell lot of different ways, so I wouldn't say this is the only possibility. What was the reason for you going there, and would you like to go back? Of course I would like to go back. I miss it so much. I don't want to live in India, definitely not, because I love living in Germany, because the infrastructure is just the greatest thing ever, but still I enjoyed it so much, and I would always love to go there on vacation, especially because I haven't seen all the places I wanted to see yet. And the reasons for going there was because we had one giant topic about India in my English advanced class back then, and it was so interesting for me to hear about all the social issues and also about the culture, so I was always super hooked about India and I wanted to go there all the time because I don't know, I was also a bit scared, but when I was seeing that opportunity, my heart was just saying, do it, do it, do it, do it, and that's why I wanted to go there. Because, of course, because of the internship, I wanted to change something there, which didn't really work because the project was not like I expected it to be. And the other thing is that I wanted to explore more, especially outside of Europe, explore new cultures and travel around the world and get more independent, and this is what I achieved at least. What was the most beautiful moment? I'll just answer that question concerning India because there were so many beautiful moments in Malaysia, so I'm just gonna talk about India right now. The best moment was when we were going rafting. I already talked about this in the part 1 before, so just check that one out. It was in Rishikesh, and it was just the best experience because we did it so spontaneous and it was with the best company. We just had so much fun and it was a wild, crazy experience and I loved it so much. Was it hard to communicate with the people? Was the food good? Of course the food was good. The North Indian food was not super nice all the time because I don't like oily food so much, and all the curries were so oily, not like German Indian curries, because they are normally not so oily because they always use coconut milk. In India it's way more oily and you get chapati every day, and after 2 weeks I was so sick of chapati, I was like, oh fuck that chapati, I want rice, I want rice. So that was not always so good, but the South Indian food was bomb, really, it was my total fave. And about the communication, most of the time I didn't have any problems. Sometimes they had a quite weird accent, because I think you can always find the Indian under 100,000 other people from different countries. You will always find the Indian because of his accent. I think I only met 1 or 2 persons who didn't have any Indian accent, but most of them, they had this funny Indian accent. And what I sometimes love about Indian accents, I love and I hate it at the same time, because sometimes it just sounds ridiculous. Like when they are talking about pizza, they always say pizza. Pizza, what is pizza? Because at first they were saying, do you want pizza? And I was like, what is pizza? What the fuck is pizza? And then I get it, like, it's pizza, oh my gosh. And also, what I realized is so weird, they put articles in front of everything. In front of places, in front of names, in front of social media. They say, are you going to the Jaisalmer next weekend? Jaisalmer is a place, and they say, the Jaisalmer? And I'm like, the fuck? Or what they also say, like this one Indian YouTuber I like a lot because she's uploading the best recipes. She always says at the end, follow me on the Facebook. And I'm like, the fuck? What is the Facebook? There is no the Facebook. It's just Facebook. Or they say, I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird. But I never really had a problem to understand a person. If I didn't understand them, I would just say, can you say it again? And after the third time asking, I'm just like, fuck it. Yeah, I just say yes. And then if they're asking a question and I'm like, yes. And they're like, I asked you a question. And I'm like, yes. I can only remember this one person from Isaac that I sometimes had problems understanding with because he was just helping me with booking my bus ticket. And I met him on that same day. So just some other person was texting me and like, hey, can you help Lisa with that? So he was picking me up with his bike. When he was talking to me, I was always like, what did he say? But his English was not so good, so I was sometimes not understanding the grammar, sometimes not understanding the words he was saying, because he was mixing it up with Hindi sometimes. So that was quite hard for me, but most of the time I didn't have any communication problems, because most of the people can talk English. For the tuk-tuk drivers, sometimes it was a bit harder, but for me it was still no problem, because I always had people with me who could tell them like, you have to do this, you have to do that, or they already knew the procedure, how to get along with these people. How were the people there? Have you met new friends? Yes, I made a lot of friends, and this is what I really loved about my internship. And concerning the people, most of the time these people were so welcoming, generous, and just totally kind-hearted, and this is what I loved so much, especially in Rajasthan. When I was reaching my hostel, these people were so friendly. I loved it, and every time I had an issue or anything, I could just tell them, and they said, sure, we will do that, it's no problem. So it was so nice, like I loved it there. I already told you about some stereotypes that I didn't really like, because most of the people were thinking like that. And concerning some things, they really have traditional attitudes. Not everywhere, especially not in cities like Mumbai or Delhi, because there it's quite modern. But in villages or little towns like that, they still have these traditional views. And for example, about arranged marriage, it still happens there, or about the caste system. It's also sometimes still in the minds of the people, so it depends on where you go. So sometimes it was a problem, and I didn't really like it, because it's just narrow-minded to think like that, if you ask me. But I think, how can they know better if they don't really get the education about it? What was the best and the worst thing you've eaten? The best, masala dosa, obviously. The worst was super oily sabji. So sabji is like, how to explain? It's like a very oily soup sauce thing, you could say, and then they put vegetables in it. But in the hostel when I ate it, it was always so oily, really. You could see the oil swimming on top, just like a thick layer of oil, and I was just looking at it like, oh, this is so oily, I don't want to eat it. And the vegetables, it was just like 2 zucchini stripes of it in there. And then they called it like, okay, this is your food. And I was like, shit. Because there was more oil than anything else. So this was one thing I really hated. I didn't like sabji at all. Not the way they did it there. I don't know if it's better sometimes, but this way I was not liking it at all like that. In Malaysia, the worst thing I ate was this blue rice dish, because there was so much stuff along with it, and I didn't like any of that. The only thing I liked was the deep fried bread, but everything else was so, not really, because it was blue rice with an egg in it, and then there was some sauce that was kind of spicy, but the aftertaste was so weird. And all the soups were so salty. And I ate wakame there. It's like a seaweed, but it was totally not my thing, so this was also not good. And in India, I was eating chicken accidentally, and I believe that I was also eating meat on that night when I was feeling so ill, because it was so dark there, and I was just asking one person, is that vegetarian? And they said, yes, go ahead, try it. So I just tried it. And when I was eating that, I felt like, no, this really tastes like meat. It tastes like meat. But they said, no, it's vegetarian. So I don't know if they were just kidding me, or just making a fool out of me. So I was really pissed after that, and it was also quite oily in the aftertaste, so I was feeling super bad afterwards. And I remember, I think I was also puking that night, so I was not feeling good after that one. What was the scariest experience in India? So I didn't really have a really scary experience, like I was almost robbed or I was raped or anything like that, so nothing bad happened. But really the scariest thing that happened was the toilet situation. Like I told you, that situation in the bus. I was so scared that they just leave me at this place and just go off with my freaking big suitcase and everything I had, and I was just having my phone with no connection. This was the scariest experience. I would be interested to know if the people surround you often spoke Hindi. Could you imagine learning that language? I think it would not be worth learning that language, because for me it's a total different language and it's quite hard to learn. It's a language that is just like when you write it, then you just pronounce it the same way, which is quite good to learn. But I still think for me it wouldn't be worth it, because I would just like to travel around in India, but as I don't want to stay there, I think it's not really necessary to learn the language, because you can get along there so well with English. Some words are quite nice to know, like for example, if you're going by tuk-tuk, you should know what is left, what is right, what is straight forward in Hindi, because some of them don't know. But the problem in India is also that in many regions you have these local languages, so there Hindi won't really help you, because some people can speak Hindi, others talk in Marwari or in Punjabi, so it's super different and it won't be such a great help. So it's always helpful to have a local with you who can tell you, or even better, drive you around, so you don't need to go to this struggle with public transport and everything, so then it will be even better. So people around me in Jodhpur in Rajasthan were talking Hindi a lot, of course, so if they were not talking with me, then they were talking Hindi most of the time. It was like that when friends were meeting each other, and also the children I was teaching, they were also talking in Hindi, and the people in my hostel were talking Hindi to each other, so of course I didn't understand a word. It was hard to understand, and I think that 5 weeks are not enough to learn everything. I know a few things, like bhuk lagi is I'm hungry, the most important of course, and another thing I know is paisa, which is money, so there are some small things that I know. Moti is like being fat, but it's not really a thing that I would call like, oh my god, I'm fluent in this language. Definitely not, but I would also say it's not really worth it learning it if I'm not gonna stay there for 1 year or longer than that. But I really love listening to Indian songs, and sometimes I also sing along, although I'm not singing it right, but I was told that I sing it quite well when I try to sing it. Of course, I'm not saying the right words, but I just try to make them sound kind of similar, and a friend of mine, also an Indian friend, was telling me, hey, you sing it quite well, you're just pronouncing the Hindi so awesome, and I was like, whoa, thanks for that. So guys, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of talk again. I didn't want it to be so long, but it always happens like that. I'm really sorry for that. But I really hope you enjoyed it. As I said, if you haven't checked out my first Q&A, do it right now. You're gonna miss out on something if you're not gonna look at it. And you should also check out all my social media channels, because I'm talking a lot about India there and my travel, because I want to travel so much more in the future, and I also already booked a flight for Oslo during the time when I'm free from university. If there's something specific you want to know about, then just leave a comment below so that I can do a talk about it, or just show you some footage of that I filmed in India or in Malaysia. Just tell me, because now I have a little more knowledge about these kind of things. I would love to hear your opinion on my video, and then I would say we see each other in the next one. Bye bye!